that Alan's put in the chat that he's going to have to leave about 11:15, so thanks for letting us know, Alan. So move on to item 1, which is the minute of the meeting held on the 24th of March. Do we have any matters arising or any amendments to the minute? No hands? No. So we're happy with that. So we can review and approve the minutes. And I'll move on to item 2, and we've got lots of items from Andrea. So first item from Andrea is Internal Audit Plan 22-23 and 23-24 progress. So Andrea, just as usual, if you want to pick out a couple of points, given that we've read the papers, and I'll pass over to you. You were there a minute ago. I don't know if she's dropped off. I hope not, because she's got the next 5 items. Bear with me.
I think we've lost her.
It seems like it, doesn't it?
Yep. I'll give her a message.
2 seconds. I'll see if I can get hold of her as well.
I'll give it a wee minute. If we don't get her in a minute or so, we'll maybe just move on to item 7 on the agenda, Sarah, if you don't mind. I'll just wait 1 wee minute though. Right, I think unless we're going to sit here in silence while we get her, I think we should just do that. Sarah, would you mind if we moved on to item 7, which is Unaudited Annual Governance Statement 22-23? And again, if you just want to pick out some points from the report.
Okay. No problem. Thanks, Jacqueline. So this is the governance statement that comes to the IJB, the Audit Risk and Scrutiny. Speak to the Audit Risk and Scrutiny Committee every year for yourselves to approve it to be included in the annual accounts. So this is a really important part of the annual accounts because it actually clarifies all the governance that sits behind the accounts and the financial work that we do throughout the year. And it provides a summary of what that work looks like. So I won't go through the entire statement. What I will say is that it reflects, and it's clear on page 69 of your papers, but page 5 on the report, it reflects the results of the internal control reviews that we do for both partner bodies, which didn't show any issues at all. And there's also on page 6 and page 70 of our papers, the internal audit opinion is reflected in there as well, which concludes that a reasonable level of assurance can be given. And Andrea had sight of the paper and agreed it prior to it being included in here as well. There's also the agreed actions for next year, and they're included in the table. And there are 2 actions for next year that we will take forward. And there's also a summary of the agreed actions for previous years. So really that's all that's sitting within the governance statement. So it's really for yourselves to approve for it to be included in the annual accounts.
Great. Thanks very much, Sarah. Has anyone got any questions or comments for Sarah in this report? Nope. Okay, no, I don't have anything to ask Sarah. So we're being asked to approve the draft annual governance statement as set out in Appendix 1. Are we happy to approve it? Yes, nodding heads. Yep, great. Thanks for that. So I think I saw in the chat there that Andrea's having. Oh, Andrea's back. I just saw you there, Andrea. So we'll go back to where we are in the agenda. You're having the road dug up. So
yes,
we just.
I don't know if that's what's causing the problem, but it seems to have only started when they were digging up the road. So every now and again it drops completely. But I'll do my best to try and get through it all.
I hope it's not the council.
No, it's to do with the fast internet connections.
Sorry, that's my Alexa. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, so we'll go back to the agenda as it's set out. So we were on item 2, internal audit plan. And Andrea was just saying if you want to pick out a few points, given that we've read the report. Sorry about that. Oh, I think she's gone again. It's a lot of gremlins in the IJB Audit Risk and Scrutiny meeting this morning. I've got my Alexa speaking to me and we're losing Andrea. Okay, I think we're going to have to go back again to item 8, Sarah, if you don't mind. I think we're
Not
just
at
going to
all.
have to jump back and forth because there's no point in us sitting waiting for a long period. So item 8 is review of the IJB financial governance arrangements. And again, just pick out some points for us, Sarah.
Okie doke. So this is just an update. We do regular reviews of the financial governance, and this year there's not been great changes, but I just wanted to reflect some of the things that we discussed in the budget paper that went to the IJB earlier this year, and also some changes to the risk register. So you're asked to approve the updated financial regulations in Appendix 1, and also note that there's been no change to the reserves policy. And for your information, the changes are highlighted in 4.1 of the report. And the first change is really to clarify the responsibilities of both the CFO and the IJB in setting the budget, and also the changes in relation to risk management as detailed in the risk management information that's been coming to the Audit, Risk and Scrutiny Committee. So it's just to tidy all of that up and to update the financial regulations to reflect that. So happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions for Sarah? Nope. But we're all very quiet today. That's fine, I've got no questions either. So we're asked to approve the updated financial regulations and note that there's been no change to the IJB reserves policy. So we're happy to do that. Yep. Okay, so again, I'll just keep going on with the latter half of the agenda, if that's all right. So item 9 is the local code and sources of assurance for governance arrangements, and I'll pass to you, Frances.
Yeah, that's great, thanks. So this report, similar to previous years, asks the committee to approve a review of the local code and sources of assurance for governance arrangements. The report is broadly not changed much since last year. However, it does reflect some key developments that have happened around particularly the new risk management framework, and it also has our market facilitation plan, which members will be aware is going for approval to the IJB at the June meeting. As members will be aware, we get audited on a random selection of elements of the local code and source of assurance each year, and we'll just give a commitment in this paper to carry out any recommendations and bring progress on these to this committee. And that's really it. So we're just really looking for members to approve this reviewed local code and source of assurance, and just note that we'll keep you cited on anything that comes out of the audit. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Frances. So any questions for Frances? No. Okay, so we'll ask to review.
Margaret.
Oh, sorry, Mags.
Sorry, my hand was slow to appear, even though I stuck up. Sorry, Jacqueline. It was just to say, I think because I've been dead quiet this morning, it's not like me. So just say these documents are all really helpful just to clarify, what's in place, and don't take silence as not interested. It's just really helpful to see it all in place. So no questions, but good to see. Likewise with the governance statement earlier, it's all stuff that we sort of know, but great to see all brought together in one place. So thank you all for that.
No, thanks, Mags.
Mags.
Thanks, Mags. Yeah, as I was saying at the pre-agenda, I normally have a list of questions, but I didn't this time round. So, but as you say, it's just because everything's quite clear and happy with it. So, yeah, thanks for that comment. So we're asked to review and approve the local code and note any recommendations arising from the internal audit. Happy to do that. Yep. Okay. Right, where are we with Andrea? I think she came back and I think she's gone again.
Yeah, I think Duncan's trying to get in touch with her just to get her to join on our Works mobile or dial in through a hotspot.
Right, Elaine. Well, we'll just carry on with the agenda and then we can come back to it at the beginning. Hopefully it'll be resolved by the time we've finished. So that means that we're moving on to item 10, which is the CIPFA Financial Management Code. And Sarah, I'll pass to you.
Hello, this is actually just another part of financial governance that I just really wanted to bring to the IJB. Although the code's been in place for a number of years, we've never actually brought it to the IJB, and as part of the financial governance, I thought it would be fitting to bring that and to summarise where we are in terms of how we've actually enacted that code. So you'll see the appendix in the report details very clearly all of the work that we've done to actually take the financial management code forward. And there are 3 areas of development that we will take forward over the next short period. And that's in section D, E and F of the appendix. There's not really much in that for us to take forward, but it does summarise everything that we do and brings together all of the other work that sits in the governance statements, the code of assurance, etc. So happy to take any questions on that.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions for Sarah? Nope. So we're being asked to note the requirements of the CIPFA Financial Management Code and note the assessment of compliance for the IJB and the developments recommended for progression. Happy to do that. Yeah.
Oh, Jacqueline, one of the things I should add is that sometime this year, CIPFA are intending to bring out an update of the Section 95 officers' roles and responsibilities. So I'll bring that as well, and then we'll have a full suite of updated governance information for the IJB and the Audit, Risk and Scrutiny Committee. I don't know when that's due out, and I'm quite interested to see what will be included within that, but I will bring that back to the to yourselves as soon as I have it, and what we need to do, if anything, to make any changes.
That's great. Thanks very much, Sarah. Okay, so we're moving on to item 11, which is update on the risk register, and welcome back, David Fogg. I was pleased to hear that you've come back to us. I said we're not going to let him back, but I was just joking. Very glad to have you back.
That would have been fair, but thank you. And I don't think I've actually missed any committee meetings, so it was that quick a turnaround. Yeah, thank you for that. I'll just briefly kind of give an overview on this paper. So as you kind of know by now, this paper kind of follows that common structure of giving updates in terms of how we're applying the risk framework within the HSCP, and then gives an update on any changes or additions to the risk register and the issue register as well. In terms of the application of the risk framework, I think the main point to note is just to reiterate a point that is in, I think it's item 2, one of Andrea's papers, that the internal audit work being undertaken by ASETS is nearly at its conclusion. And we expect to see that final report in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Once we've got those recommendations in, we'll be able to take those into account in the planned review of the risk framework, which is now due. And we'll also bring back a view on how we will implement those recommendations in an update in September for the committee to consider. In terms of specific changes to the risk and issue register, they reflect firstly in risks 1 and 2 with regards to financial challenges. Whilst those risks were already both at the highest rating, the description's been updated to note the position that was agreed by the IJB in March regarding the utilisation of reserves in 23-24. Also around the need to deliver financial balance through the identification of future savings as well. And to reinforce that and to reflect that, we've also added issue 2 to the issue log, which covers the IJB's budget position and also the associated impact that the use of reserves will have, and also the level of required savings in terms of how that might impact on the IJB's strategic plan and also on the IJB's financial resilience. We're also proposing to the committee that risk 5 relating to COVID is closed. So this has been monitored for a number of months now at a very low level. However, following the Scottish Government's recent removal of guidance around the use of face masks, we think this is now appropriate to remove it. I think what we will do moving forward is look at what merit there is in giving consideration to, I suppose, a wider risk around the potential of future pandemics, not just COVID, and building that into future risk registers as well. Members will also note that we've updated risk 6, which relates to the implementation of a national care service, and that's been updated to show that there's a further delay in stage 1 discussions in Parliament until 2024. We've also updated Risk 11 related to delivery of the GP contract, and we've actually reduced the scoring for that. However, it's just to note that this is still rated as a high risk because of the pressures and the challenges that are still faced in primary care. So whilst we have made progress, there are still challenges there. And finally, it's just to note that we've also increased the rating of risk 12 relating to achievement of performance targets. And that reflects the potential impact that intense focus from Scottish Government or partners on particular indicators can have on overall delivery, and particularly in the context of resource constraints within the HSCP. If we do need to focus additional resource on particular indicators and particular areas of service, then that can have a knock-on impact on wider service delivery. So it's just raising that for the committee's awareness. But happy to take any questions.
Thanks for that, David. Yeah, I noticed the news about the National Care Service, but as we were commenting at the pre-agenda, it didn't get a lot of media attention, which was strange. But yeah, no, thanks for that. Any questions for David on the risk register? No. Nope. So we're Mags. Oh, you're muted, Mags. You're still muted.
Those of you that are on the health board will know that there's been discussion about how IGBs report on delayed discharges. So it's really just a comment to make that I was comfortable with my health board hat on, that certainly this IGB's approach to risk in areas like delayed discharge that have a big impact on health are appropriately reflected and are captured. So it was just, I guess, to reflect that conversation here as well. Jacqueline, I can't remember if you're on that standing committee or not, but anyway, there is an overlap there, and it's certainly, I was comfortable that we are addressing the risks here. Christine, you were definitely in the call.
Yeah, so I think for us, obviously that conversation, there was a view of where does that risk sit? But for me, the risk firmly sits with us because it's about people of Renfrewshire who are delayed in their discharge. So that's the approach that the management team have taken in terms of including that.
Thanks, Christine.
Great, thanks for that. Yeah, no, I wasn't in that meeting, Mags, but thanks for reflecting that. Okay, so I think I can see that Andrea's come in, but I think we'll just carry. Yes. Okay, but we'll just move on to item 12 and let Andrea get settled. So item 12 is for more happy reading, the Audit Scotland Local Government in Scotland Overview 2023. Francis?
Thanks, Jacqueline. I wasn't planning to go through this paper in detail. We really just brought a third in the series of papers for the committees to note, really. The only thing I would highlight for your assurance is that whilst these recommendations are to councils, they very much align with the principles which underpin our strategic plan, and I suppose more specifically our approach locally to addressing the financial challenge through our Sustainable Futures programme. So I think you'll see a number of those considerations reflected in the Sustainable Futures paper that we'll bring to the IJB at the end of the month. But really, I don't think there's anything particularly new in this paper, but as we've commented before, the papers are good at succinctly sort of pulling together the full picture for members. Thanks.
Thanks, Francis. Any questions or comments on this report? No. Other than it's doom and gloom. So we've asked to note the content of this report and the contents of the Audit Scotland Overview report. Happy to do that. And I've just realised, I think that I skipped item 11 and I didn't ask us to note and approve item 11, so we're happy to do that too. Yeah. Thank you. I've got it all laid in front of me and I still didn't do it. Okay, so Andrea, are you with us? I think you're with us.
Yes, I'm with you.
Oh, good, good. On the phone. So
On the
listen,
phone, I'm afraid.
no, listen, don't worry. And don't worry, I mean, I certainly don't have many questions for your report. So as
Okay.
usual, just do a brief overview of your reports,
Okay.
and if there's any questions, I can let you know. So we were
Okay.
on to item 2, which is the internal audit plan. I don't think we even got to hand over to you, so I'll hand over to you now.
Okay, thank you. I mean, there isn't much to add to this. The review of risk management, I believe, has now been discussed, so I do expect the report within the coming days, and that will be issued, but otherwise I'll take any questions.
Great, thanks. Any questions for Andrea on this item? No. Okay, Andrea, so we'll move on to item 3, which is summary of internal audit reports and partner organisations.
Yes, the only thing really probably to highlight here that members might pick up on is the creditors' purchase to pay no assurance report within the council. It's really just to give you assurance, and it is covered in the annual report as well, that this didn't relate to the IGB itself. It was a very narrow scope audit looking at the conditions under which we make manual payments. And it was found that a number of manual payments were made out with those set conditions. They mainly related to capital payments within the council, and the council are looking at arrangements to fix that. So there isn't really an issue for the IGB, although it was a no assurance report for the council.
Yeah, great. Thanks for highlighting that, Andrea. Any questions for Andrea in that report? No. So we're noting the contents of that report, and we'll move on to item 4, which is the internal audit annual report.
Okay, thank you. So this is my final output for last year. It obviously is required under the public sector internal audit standards, and it supports and is referred to in the governance statement that you've already considered. If I just take you through a couple of the pages, at page 30, we have our overall performance statistics. That covers council and all other associate bodies that we audit. We were slightly behind on the completion target for the year, and that was very much to do with unplanned absence, and we had more than expected in terms of investigations as well. So that impacts slightly on the performance target. Not an issue that I feel needs, any particular remedial action. That is 2% of a very high target, so I'm not overly worried about that. In terms of paragraph 4.5 on page 31, this refers to our external quality assessment, which is elsewhere on the papers. So I'll take you through that in a little bit more detail once we come to that particular paper. And at section 6 on page 32, that sets out my assurances for the year. There are no significant matters that need to be brought to the board's attention, and it provides for reasonable assurance as was reflected in the governance statement. Happy to take any questions that anybody has.
Thanks, Andrea. Any questions for Andrea? Any comments? Nope. Okay, Andrea. So we're noting the contents of that report and moving on to item 5, which is the internal audit and external quality assessment.
Okay, so this is a very positive report from my point of view. We participate in the peer review process for these external quality assessments, which need to be undertaken at least once every 5 years. The assessment was undertaken by South Ayrshire Council's audit team, and we have been assessed as fully conforms. Although there are 7 improvement actions that have been highlighted, which are set out on the table at page 53. The recommendations are relatively minor in nature. Recommendations 1 and 3 have actually already been implemented for the council in May, and for yourselves on reports that are on this agenda. I won't take you through all of the detail. It's a very detailed report. I think it's a very easy read, but I'm happy to pick up on any questions that anyone has.
Thanks, Andrea. No, it was really a positive report, so thanks for that. Any comments or questions on that item? No. no, we were happy with that. So we're just noting the external assessor's report and noting the actions to be taken to implement the recommendations made. So happy to do that. Okay, and that takes us to item 6, which is the internal audit charter. Andrea?
So, yeah, thank you very much. So this is obviously the updated internal audit charter to reflect the recommendation that was made in the external quality assessment. So the only part that has been added is page 60 of your papers in relation to consultancy services. There's been no other changes made to it at all. Happy to take any questions.
So no questions. So we are approving the revised internal audit charter. Yep, we're approving it. Yep, we've approved it. So thank you, Andrea. I hope you get your ID problem sorted out. We got there in the end. You actually arrived just at the right time. We just completed all the other items in the agenda. So
Okay.
actually, although there's been a few hiccups this morning, we got there quite smoothly in the end. So thanks for that.
I'm away for a cup of tea now.
I would do that, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So
Thanks.
we're just moving on to the last item, which is item 13, date of the next meeting, which is Monday the 18th of September. And just to say that obviously in September, oh, Fiona, you've got something you want to ask?
It's not to ask, it was just to comment, and I suppose it's very similar to Mags. I don't want the fact that we haven't asked any questions to seem that we're disinterested in all of the work that's been put into these reports. The very fact that we've not asked questions means that we've got what we needed from the information that was there. So just to thank everybody for their work on it. Thanks.
No, thanks. I'm glad that you said that too, Fiona. I know whenever I've been in the COSLA boards, people have always told me that at a COSLA board, silence is positive because that means everybody's happy. So, so I'll take the same for this meeting as well. So yeah, as I was saying, in September, we rotate the IGB chair and vice chair, and also for this committee, but it goes to the IGB first. So obviously the NHS non-execs will have to have a conversation about who they want to be chair, and Fiona and I will have a talk about who want to be vice chair. I'm just looking to gauge Fiona's reaction to see if she wants to take over the reins, but we can have that conversation offline. And as I said, it goes to the IGB first, and then back to this board. So that will be in September. Also, there'll be a report to the IGB in September about arrangements about whether we're meeting in person or remotely, and we can discuss that and agree that in September. So that was all, unless there's anything else anybody wants to ask or any comments. No. And Alan, you actually were here for the whole of the meeting because we've finished before 10:30, so you didn't have to leave early after all.
The wonderful chair, I think that was there. Hold on.
Oh, thank you. Oh, look, flattery will get you everywhere. So thanks everyone for your time this morning, and see you all soon. Okay,
thank you.
Bye.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.